Walk you through doing a lino cut print. We have some various things here. We have our plexiglass that we're going to roll our ink on. I have my printing plate that I'm going to print using, and this is going to be my printing station. So we roll ink here, and we're going to go over here and print. It's important to kind of be in different spots so we don't get our paper all disgusting. All right, so I have two different colors. I'm going to try to be fancy with it today. Two colors I've never used before, so I want to kind of see how they work. I'm going to start by rolling out just a little bit. When you're rolling, you don't want too much ink. You want it to be kind of sticky sounding, kind of an even coat. You'll get better at this as you go along. I'm also going to start this one with a different brayer. So this is called a brayer. It's a hard roller, and it's used for printmaking. We want it hard because we don't want it going into the crevices of our plate over here. All right, so I have both of them kind of out and kind of ready to kind of be blended. Now you can blend on the actual plate itself, or you can blend over here on your printing plate. That's what I'm going to try. So I'm going to start. I want the yellow to be kind of on top here. Now this is my first time printing. I find every single time it's my first time printing, a lot of times it's I don't put the ink on as thick, and then every time I print after that it's a little bit better. But we will see how it goes. So I am just putting my yellow here on the top part of my print. I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm going to pull my pink over. Now what I want to achieve, and I'll see if I can do it, is kind of a blending between the yellow and also the pink. So we'll see if I can do that. All right, so I'm going to clean off my brayer a little bit, and I'm going to just roll over this area, maybe get some ink over here, and try to roll over and see if I can get a little blending to happen between the pink and the yellow. And if not, that's okay. You know, every time you do this, like the whole point of doing printmaking is to do multiple prints. So if you try something and it just doesn't work, well, try it again or try something else. Just kind of always be experimenting with it. It's not like a drawing where you do want, if you mess up, you can't go back. You know, you can reprint and reprint and reprint. Okay, so I feel like I have hopefully enough ink. I don't know, there's a few spots on the yellow that maybe I want to kind of re-ink here, try to get a little bit more yellow on there. Now typically whenever I do prints, my first print that I do is always going to be on white paper, and then I'll start experimenting with paper. So now I'm going to carefully lift up my printing block, and I'm going to come over here. And so I have made these placemats to help you for placement. So I'm going to place my printing block right on that yellow piece. Now the blue is going to help me with placing my paper. Now I kind of want to try this on black, but maybe I should, I don't know, let's see what happens on black. I'm just going to go for the black. So the blue piece of paper on my placemat should help me with placing my paper. And now I'm going to just rub. Now, they have different devices that you can use. Sometimes you can use a spoon, or you can use something that's called a Baron, but I have actually found that my hands are the best tool. So I'm just getting all the different areas, making sure I put pressure even on the edges. And then I'm going to carefully peel up and see what happens. Ooh, that looks kind of cool. Very interesting with the different colors and on black. All right, so I can continue repeating this. I can go back, I can re-ink over here, I can bring my block back, I can re-ink, and I can try it again. I kind of want to do this on white and see what it looks like on white paper. You also have your, if you made some acrylic grounds, or if you made some monotypes using the jelly plate, you can print on those too. So those are different options. Kind of think about color theory. especially with the acrylic rounds that you used, what colors are going to go well with the colors you're using. If you have a very bright background, you probably want to do something a little bit darker as far as your ink goes. So then you would go to a different table with maybe a black setup, a black inking station setup. All right, I'm going to bring this back over. Let's see what this looks like on white. Okay, I'm going to align my paper to that blue and rub again. Looks awesome as well. That yellow is very vibrant on that white paper. So that's really kind of how the lino-cut printing process works. Let's talk about what to do with your plate whenever you're done. So, or maybe you want to switch colors and you don't want this ink to be left on there because that might mess things up. So we're going to take our plate to the sink. Now, one thing is this likes to curl whenever it gets super wet, and even the ink is starting to make it curl, if you can tell. So I don't like to run it underwater unless it's the very end of the class period and I'm not going to be printing. I have rags up here, and I'm just going to get my rag wet and kind of rinse it out. And I'm going to try to get as much ink off as possible. And you can run it underwater, but you're going to find that your plate is going to start curling really bad. So if you want to try to reprint again, just a different color, I feel like this is a good solution. All the extra ink is going to be in the recessed areas, but it shouldn't impact my print. Now, if it's the end of the class period, I run it right under the water, and I try to get all that ink out. I can scrub it with a rag again, because it can dry in between prints whenever you're doing this at the end. So get all the ink out as much as you possibly can. And then you can take some paper towels and pat it dry and put it back in your portfolio. But I would definitely make sure it's dry before you put it in your portfolio, because you don't want it to ruin anything in your portfolio. If it's not very dry, another solution is to be wrap it in newsprint that I have available, and that will protect other things in your portfolio. All right, so that's how to take care of your plate. Let's talk about cleanup. So if you print, you also help with cleanup. So let's talk about how to do that. I'm going to set this over here. So I have a sufficient amount of ink left on my plate that I don't necessarily want to waste. The brayers, I just like to wipe off on the newspaper. That's eventually going to be thrown away, but it cleans it pretty well. It still needs to be washed in the sink, but the majority of the ink is off. So I'm going to do that with both of these. And I'm going to set them aside because they can be brought to the sink. Now I'm going to use this palette knife and kind of scrape up some of the thicker ink and put it back into the container. Again, the less ink that's on the plate, the easier it is to clean and the more we're saving. All right, I can put the lid on this one and set that aside. That one is ready to go. I'm going to do the same thing with the yellow. Now, if there's ink that's mixed up on this plate, I wouldn't save it. All this is pure color, so it's good to save. All right, so now I can pile all the things onto my plate that need to be washed in the sink. I can bring them over the sink. Move the rags over, and I can use the sponges that are in the sponge thing to clean all these off. I'm gonna wipe the palette knives and put them back where they belong in the palette knife container that's behind me. I can wash off my plexiglass. Once I get all the ink off of the plexiglass, all I need to do is lean it up against the wall over here to dry. And then I can take my brayers, make sure I get the ends of my brayers where the ink didn't come off into the interior of my brayer. And the brayers can be set in this little thing right here. All right, so the last thing to clean up is the newspaper that's on the table. And I also need to put my prints away. So all the newspaper that has been soiled, we are going to just crumple up and put in the trash. Our table is super clean because that newspaper protected it. Now let's talk about our prints. If we're all printing, there's going to be a lot of prints that we need to make sure we keep a sort of. So this one was my first print, and so I'm going to put AP on here, and I'm going to put my name. This was my first print after my artist print proof, and so now I'm going to put 1 and my name. Now these are not dry, so I need to put them somewhere safe to keep them dry. So in this room, I have hangers with clothespins on them. So you can actually claim a hanger and you can put 4 prints on there. So I'm going to take and clip and clip. And I can leave them there to dry, and I'll get them the next class period. And that's it.